Hey guys, this is Collin Moshman for CardRunners.com. The theme of today's quickie is profitably playing marginal hands in sit-and-goes, and in particular when we're not the first one in the pot, so we filter to exclude situations when, say, everyone's folded us in the small blind and we shove a junk hand into a tight big blind. So the first hand here is the bubble of a 9-man. The small blind's open limped, and against someone with 34-12 stats in this stack dynamic, I'm going to be raising pretty much ATC here. Now shoving will be profitable. There'll be a wide enough gap between his range for open limping and calling, but I much prefer the more small ball approach. So we make it 500. If he folds now, that's great. If he calls, then he's going to fold to a lot of flops. We're going to see bet any flop. Now, if he folds here, which he does, that's fantastic. When he calls, we're going to barrel a lot of turns. So if we pair any card jack or higher, the main ones we're not going to barrel would be any card deuce through 6, so we would just check back the turn, bluff some rivers, and otherwise give up. But we expect to show a nice profit through this sequence of events, raising pre, c-betting the flop, and then barreling some late street runouts. Another similar example here when it's the 3-handed bubble, the small blind open limps, going to raise very wide here, and then again, same plan. Now this 3 is a bad card to barrel, so always good cards to barrel are going to be scare cards. Usually 10 or above is going to be a scare card. Maybe a 9 we barrel as well, but a 3 I'm just going to check back and give up, except for the fact that we hit the river. Now we're definitely going to value bet this, and there are 2 considerations for value betting and our sizing. First is his range, and so here when he check calls flop, and then on the river he just checks again. So if he had like a weak 6x hand, maybe a hand like 10-6 suited, there's a good chance that he would have bluffed, and also doesn't matter all that much what he does. So this looks like a 5x, 7x type hand. And the other aspect is what kind of image we have. So if we've been playing tighter recently, then we're not going to be able to get away with as large a value bet. Here my stats are 31-25 so far in this game, so obviously I've had some good opportunities to loosen up, or otherwise have a more spewy image. So for that reason, I do still go a full half pot, thinking that there's a good chance you can pay me off with a hero call with a hand like, say, a7 or queen 5 suited. And sure enough, we do in fact get that action. Next hand is going to be 10-8 suited. And the cutoff open limps I raised, normally I make them more like 70-75. Probably I didn't have enough time and just hit my 3x hotkey. He calls, and again we're going to c-bet. If he calls this flop, there aren't too many runouts I'm going to barrel, given that he has pretty loose stats. The biggest source for profit from this sequence is going to be when we connect in some way, value bet 3 streets. And this flop, though, we're betting half pot, so we only need to succeed a third of the time to show an immediate profit. He check raises, and I'm never going to continue in this hand against this player type or do anything fancy. We're just going to immediately get out and cut our losses. So next hand is going to be 7-9 suited. Small blind open limps against a player who's playing 25-5 stats. I'm going to be raising in the big blind a range of almost ATC, at least top 80% or so, because it's just such a great player type, kind of tight, kind of passive to attack. We actually hit a flop, which is kind of nice when you're playing a lot of chunk hands in these spots. C-bet full for value. He goes ahead and bets 450. So this overbet, anything besides shoving, is fancy play. And the reason for that is this bet shows a lot of strength. It's a very coordinated flop. He's betting out over full pot, and he's saying he wants to get in. It'd be a terrible spot to bluff raise, and conversely, it's a very good one to value raise when we're strong, and expect to get called by a hand at least Jack X, and probably more like 2 pair, possibly a set if you played it very passively pre-flop. And sure enough, though, he actually has the better straight, which is a concern, but we're never going to fold post-flop in a raise spot when we flop straight on this board, and so it doesn't really matter all that much, since we are going to pay him off regardless of the action post when it's this kind of a cooler. So next hand that we're going to take a look at is 6-5 offsuit, also in the big blind. This is another great opponent type. So opponent types who are not going to raise as wide in spots like this are one where either the VPIP is super high, so if a guy has like a 65 VPIP, then too often he's going to call us pre and post with extremely weak hands, like maybe queen high post, or also guys who are more lag, or we might be suspicious, are actually trapping with that small blind open limp. Him, we just come in and attack, and he folds, so pretty much makes it pretty easy for us.